Welcome to Thoughts Roundup. Monday morning again. Lord willing, we have a week. I'd like to do something just a little different this week. My time has been very limited, and I don't want to just talk out of my head or off the top of my head. I would like to talk about something that would be maybe a little meaningful. I want to talk about books a little bit this week. Books. Maybe we could title it The Romance of Books. Books. A lot of people don't consider books at all. I was in a pastor's office and waiting for church service, and I said, boy, you have a perfect place for books here. Where do you have your books? You have a perfect spot here for books. He said, Brother Marler, I don't have any books. I don't care for books. I like to hunt. I had to be courteous and nice, but I couldn't figure out what hunting had to do with not reading. A lot of folks that read are some of the greatest hunters. Some of the greatest hunters are some of the greatest readers. But anyway, you know, at our school, it all started out at our country school. We had a country school. We have 500 or 600 people in a country school. And they were pretty up to date for the shape we were all in, living way back in the woods in the country like that. And they always had, in each room, they had a bookshelf, and that was always full of books. I was in an antique shop not long ago, and I saw one of those bookshelves cases like we had in school, and I almost wanted to buy it. I didn't have a place for it, but I was sentimental towards it. And we had a bookmobile. I don't ever hear of a bookmobile no more. I don't know if they still have them or not. But it was loaded with books. And that bookmobile would come on certain days, and you walked in like you was going to get aboard the bus-like affair, and on either side you had books lined the walls. And man, it was so, and then you go out the back. When you got through, you went out the back of the bookmobile. I loved it. I loved seeing those books. I loved touching them. I'd like to open them and look at it. Just like today, when I go into a good old bookstore, I like the smell of the old smell and the glue and all that goes into a bookstore. And well, this bookmobile would not only come to school, but it would come to they had a couple of 3 little stores out in the community in a few mile radius, and it would be, one day it would be at Holt's store, and the next day it could be somewhere else. And you could go check it. People that were not attending school could check out books. My dad he loved books. My dad and my mother, they loved books. And my dad would check out those books and read and read. He was a woods foreman, and he worked in the woods and all, but whenever he come in, he liked to get his book and get by the fire. And, well, my dad was reading a book, and the day he got so sick, he had to go to the hospital. He had marked his place in his book. He was halfway through, and he laid it there on the couch. And he went to the hospital, and he stayed, and he didn't get to come home. He passed away. So after the funeral was all over, I went home and I got the book, and I started where he left off, and I finished the book for him, and then went to meet the bookmobile and take it and turn it in for him. They knew that they were going to miss my dad. My mother used to read to us as little children. That was the only thing we had extra, just about. That was before, well, they might have had radio. We might have had radio, but, you know, you have to wait till Saturday night to get the Grand Ole Opry. And so anyway, my mother would read to us, and we'd sit at her feet. And I remember her reading a book called Again the River. Again the River. And the plot, the whole story was these folks would get flooded out, and then later the rains would come again just after they got everything built back and they got secure again. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the rains came and the rivers flooded and come up and flood them. And she would read to us about the struggles that they all made, everything they had to do in order to keep going. And it was really a lesson to us about let nothing hinder you. Always be overcomers. But every time she'd get to that point, I could see tears drop down in her eyes, and it would make us cry. Again, the river. Books. I hope you love books, and if you don't love books, I hope you develop a love for them. God bless you.